Manchester United 3. No?
Absolutely.
Start that again, won't
That'd have been all right, that.
Yeah.
That would have been proper good, that.
It would have been.
3-1 would have been mint, against Brighton. That'd have been a well-done result,
But that's me living in cloud cuckoo land, isn't it?
Yeah.
We'll start again. Manchester United 1, Brighton 3. Absolute shambles. I think only
Callum,
one
you're
person.
leaving that first one in, by the way. What, we're not have a laugh?
Yeah, we can have. Well, we've got to have a laugh because everything else has gone to shit, hasn't it, Steve?
We've got to have a laugh because it's fucking comedy.
It was, wasn't it? Why are Brighton better than Man United?
They're really good, aren't they?
Why though, Steve?
I don't know, People are just going to go, well, the manager's better. And you go, that's such base level analysis. But I haven't got a better answer than that for you. But he's fucking clearly mint. He's also a club that's clearly set up for them to be successful. The recruitment, the scouting department, the youth development, everything is set up to gear towards whoever it is. Like you can say, De Zerbi's better. All right, well, was Potter, because he was getting a very similar result out of his team as well. And then we saw what happened with him at Chelsea. That club is just extremely well run, and I think people should fucking study it.
Yeah.
To every like the fact that they go, we'll just sell our whole midfield this summer. Don't worry about it.
If Brighton are an example of a really good, well-run club, Man United the opposite, aren't they? An example of how not to run a football club.
Yeah, million percent on every front, right? So if you was looking at how you measure success at a football club, there's the very binary, did you win trophies? Okay, we won the worst trophy in England last year. I can't remember who won the others. Or the one in Europe. Don't really matter, I guess. On the trophy front, are we a success? No. Do we make money? So as a business front, do we make money? No. Well, at least is there like a real connection between the club and the fan? No. Right. Do we have the best stadium? No. What about facilities? No. What about our youth academy? Used to be the best in the world.
Yeah.
Now we sell people off for a fucking can of Lilt and a fucking Twix. Right. What other metrics can you measure a football club on? Like, are we innovative in any way whatsoever? We used to be. We were the first people that brought Prozone and the tagging and the bad and nerdy way that games are analysed. Now Manchester United brought that in. People don't talk about that, but they did. Do we have like a mad strength and conditioning department that's doing shit no one else is doing, making our players just fucking no. Like, so on every single metric, Manchester United are falling behind.
Yeah.
So if you was to say, and on top of that, we have I wouldn't necessarily call it out of control wage bill, but no one's holding it up as an example of how to pay your players. And I think you said it in the middle of the thing, didn't you? Brighton players are probably on a third of what Sancho's on. And I said I'd be amazed if any of them are on as much as a third.
Yeah. And yet they're running through walls for their manager.
I don't think the pay's got anything to do with it.
Right, so with that in mind then, because one of the things that frustrates me about a lot of this current crop of Man United players, and some people put it down to the modern footballer, but you see modern footballers with drive to want to be the best.
Yeah, you see people that are modern footballers winning things.
Yeah, but why don't Manchester United players have that? I could use Sancho as a case in point, but I'm just going off today. If you look at Hannibal, who came on the pitch, and we were losing that game regardless of him scoring that goal, came on the pitch, and I'm not just having it down to his youth, that he wanted to run through people and just put effort in. Do you know what I mean? And that should be the bare minimum, shouldn't it?
It should be the bare minimum. Like, I used to hate it when people used to like praise Ashley Young because he had effort, and you go, I fucking grew up watching like Roy Keane, Brian Robson, and people like that. Effort was never discussed because it was a given. Like, can you imagine ever analysing a Roy Keane performance and going, put a lot of effort in, didn't he?
Yeah.
Because you're like, what? Like, that's such a given.
That's baseline, isn't it?
That's like me saying what you're going to do today, and you say, well, I'm going to breathe in and out, and then after that we'll figure it out. Like, no, I know you're going to breathe in and out. Like, that's part of what we're here to do. Like, you're right that you can point it out, and you're right to point it out with Hannibal. Probably right if you didn't, but you might with Regulon as well.
Yeah, he did another good game.
Sometimes it's mad just looking at players who give a toss. But I would argue Bruno Fernandes gave a toss and played like he gave a toss, but the quality of his performance wasn't good. You can't just run around.
No, there has to be some end product to it. But even if you haven't got the ability, just to show like
fucking boot someone every now and then, you know what I mean?
And I know it goes back to that Roy Keane sort of cliche, you know, like leave something on them or just go through someone.
Or just hit someone and get it started, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then, you know, end the game. As some games today I finished, but less said about that, the better. On stuff that can be controlled and looking at Ten Hag as a manager, he was coming up for a hell of a lot of criticism on the watch along. What does he do now in terms of changing that round? There's obviously a lot of shit going on in the background with the Anthony and Sancho, but then a lot of players coming back in, which I think should give him some breathing space before you get the sort of ramped up Ten Hag out sort of situation. But he's got to put an identity. He's got to put a stamp. His identity is not on that team.
No, but it was last year. Like, we could see Ten Hag emerging into this team. We could see patterns and shapes and traits that we knew that were Ten Hag's that he'd carried over from Ajax. We saw them in the team last year. Have we seen them in the team this year? No. Okay, why? You got to start asking the questions why. And I did a video literally today, this morning actually. Let's talk about Ten Hag, where I said, like, some of the things that have gone right, some of the things that have gone wrong. Did we do too much in pre-season when you had what we did last season, playing a game like every fucking quarter of an hour? It felt like. Was pre-season too long? And then some of the people in the comments were like, well, everyone had a big pre-season. You might want to go and have a fucking look what teams actually did on pre-season versus United, versus what we know is an extremely small squad. Like, who's Manchester United starting central midfielder? It's Bruno and Casemiro, and I don't know, like Eriksen's come into it recently, but like, Eriksen wasn't getting loads of time on pre-season tour. He's not been expected to start games week in, week out, and certainly not play 90 minutes when he has. I don't know, obviously, how you fix this as Erik Ten Hag. I think it might be... It feels cheap to say, but when you think about some of the things that he's had to deal with, from replacing the original captain to the shit show with Cristiano Ronaldo, to not being able to offload some of the players that he wants, to the fact that he only managed to bring in the likes of Vegas and Sabitzer and Reguilon on loan.
Yeah.
And Amrabat, actually. He's not even ours. Like, so the fact that we're buying people on a never, or just borrowing them because they're someone else's, because we can't actually get the fucking players that we needed. We started this summer really well in terms of transfers, but we ended it like everyone had gone on holiday and no one had remembered to come back and fucking do what we needed to do. And you're like... The amount of shit that he's got to have. We had a fucking statement a day basically last week, which is mental. You can't tell me that it's not impacting training. You can't tell me that there's clearly been a fallout with Sancho. It bled into the Arsenal game because he took him out of the squad. He was asked about what's going on with Sancho. He said fucking training weren't good enough and he's not in the team. Sancho claps back on Twitter and then disappears off to fucking New York. They have a meeting. He deletes the tweet. But then all of the leaks, because we love a fucking leak at this club, don't we, like a fucking sieve? Like, all of the leaks are like, he's deleted his tweet, but he ain't fucking happy. Then United make a statement because, another day's dawned. And the statement is, Sancho's going to be training with the reserves. You go, right, so that meeting went well, I guess. Like, clearly. Like, they've kissed and made up? Absolutely fucking not. So, I don't know what he did in training, but it's clearly enough that Ten Hag doesn't even want him putting a fucking bib on in training. So when you say, like, what's he fucking dealing with? He's dealing with that. He's dealing with the Greenwood situation because, by the looks of it, the club and him thought that he was coming back. He's dealing with the Anthony situation, let alone the injuries that he's got to the likes of Rafael Varane and Luke Shaw, and Amrabat now, and Højlund, who's obviously started today, looked really good. There's so much carnage and upheaval at this club. Brighton are the worst fucking team to play in that, because people look at it and go, you better beat Brighton. Their squad's worth about fucking 50p, mate.
Yeah.
And then you go, but they're really good at football. Fuck you, they're cheap. Like, you should beat them. Don't work like that. And then you go, all right, well, we got midweek. Oh, Bayern Munich. Mint.
Do you think that he should be setting up not to lose the game then? If you've got all that sort of chaos going on, and a lot of the stuff that's external, I know what you mean. It sort of transfers into the mentality of the players on the pitch. And I'll speak to you off camera about some stuff that people were telling me about what had happened with Sancho. But Ten Hag can't control his directions to what he wants the players to do. Did he set up right today for that Brighton team, knowing how well they play football? And, I know we were lacking a right winger due to there not being an Anthony or Sancho available for selection for a number of reasons. Did he set up well today?
So I missed the first half, obviously. I was on the way back from our sort of game. It sounded really positive in the first half. It sounded like we put it on them a little bit.
Until they scored, it was just like, the frustrating thing was the heads just completely dropped. Like, it just, what's going on?
That shows other issues then, doesn't it?
Well, it's
like,
a mentality, but you learn that
team.
from your manager, don't you? Like that sort of mental resilience.
Yes and no. Could you have taught Roy Keane mental resilience?
Well, he came through Brian Clough and Alex Ferguson, who were pretty resilient characters, you know. You think it's an innate trait? Yeah. Well, you should be buying more players that have got that within them then, shouldn't you? I always think with the Sancho, I've said this for a while, we should be doing personality tests. Really? Well, you know, when we sign players?
So, what does United turn over? What's our expenditure on transfers a summer? At best, 200 million.
200 million.
150, 200 million, right? Fuck that noise. We're doing this as long as it's the tech can. If I said to you, listen, right, your entire year's outlay, 50% of it's going to be on one guy.
Yeah.
You just wing it. You'd have been like, I'm going to pee in a cup. I'm going to do a DNA test on the fucker. I'm going to interview anyone he's ever met. I want to look at his bank account. I want to know what his bad. I want to know his bad habits. I want to, like, everybody's got skeletons in the closet. I want to know what fucking categories he's checking on the hub. Like, I want to see every fucking thing about this dude, and then I'll make a decision on if I put £100 million, because like with his wages, it's in excess of £100 million. It's so much money. People think because a video game, you click a fucking button, the player turns up and you go and win loads of games. Real world don't work like that. And yeah, you should be looking at doing way fucking more. Invest, like, recruitment is the number one thing in football. And that's why Brighton are so well run. I mean, they literally lose their midfield and they regularly just lose their best players.
Does it even look like they've lost some of their best players? And that was a weakened Brighton team today.
Not just weakened because of the sellings in the summer.
No, but injuries.
Literally some of the best players not playing today.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, fuck me, and that on one hand is where I go, could Ten Hag have, if he believes in his system is a 4-2-3-1. But today we played a 4-4-2 diamond. Did he do that because he saw a weakness in Brighton and maybe we didn't quite deliver on it? And if he can come out, he never will, but like, if he went, I saw something, I thought we could do it, we didn't execute enough. You go, all right, fair enough. But if he did it, he goes, I just didn't have a right winger. Well, I don't buy that, to be honest, because I think if you believe in your system enough, you select the best you can to fit your system rather than changing your system to fit the players.
Yeah.
So I'd love to. I'm not going to get to know the answer, but I would love to know the answer to what the reason behind the formational change was. Was it because I was just trying to squeeze my best players into one system, or I didn't have whatever the fuck it was? But individual mistakes led to some of the errors in the goal. Scott McTominay just leaving Danny Welbeck. Like, Scott, you're not in here for your fucking playmaking. You're in here for that.
Yeah.
Like, do that.
That's your bread and butter.
This is why you're here.
Yeah.
Fucking following men into the box, making a nuisance of yourself. Like, you can't be doing that. Onana I saw was getting a paste in. Maybe the third one, but the others, basically like a fucking penalty rifled at him for the second.
Yeah.
Brilliant bit of skill that from Gross to just fucking send everyone the wrong way. Real confidence to do that on the pitch at Old Trafford and just fucking slot it home as well. Maybe, why was there no Wan-Bissaka? Have we found out that yet? As he said, why?
He came on. I think he came on later on, but a lot of people were saying in the comments speculating that because he went to New York with Sancho, and I don't think that's anything.
I don't think that's correct.
I don't think that's right at all. Maybe because Wan-Bissaka was probably United's worst player against Arsenal.
Maybe, but Matoma, is going to be a threat.
Yeah.
I thought the easiest decision this weekend would have been Wan-Bissaka versus Matoma. Yeah. I thought Højlund looked good. Yeah.
No, there was positives, and Rashford came in for a lot of stick. But I thought some of the link-up play between Højlund and Rashford, I think the more that's developed, there was a lot to that. It's very encouraging on that side. But it's just, with all the stuff that's going on, do you think Ten Hag will get enough time to turn that round? He will from the Glazers while they're in charge. But if we were to get a new owner... I don't think they're in any rush. If you get a new manager, he's going to want new players. I'm not saying this, I'm just all speculative. But if we were to get a new owner, and let's say Sheikh Jazim walks in now...
That's the most dangerous time for any manager.
Yeah, he's got... Because he looks at the form, and I'm like, well, no, this guy's not for me. He's just lost against Brighton at home. What's this? So it could be like,
I don't know. I actually think that there's probably more chance of Ten Hag getting a bullet because of the Glazers.
Really?
Yeah. And I'll explain my working a little bit with that. I think The club's in an absolute fucking shit show at the moment. All that needs to come out and find out is that there's a fucking grow going on in one of the sheds at Brighton, right? That's the next thing on the cards.
That's probably the only best bit of business they've got going.
Yeah, maybe that's what's keeping it ticking. But like, if that came out tomorrow morning,
I'd piss
would you? Yeah, you would. Yeah. But would you be shocked?
Not in the slightest. Not in the slightest. Yeah.
Thought it smelled like garlic, but maybe I was wrong. But like, yeah. So I think there's that much noise at a football club at the moment. What is the one change which has the most impact at a football club? It's a new manager.
Yeah.
And I worry sometimes that they see an easy option. Like, what's the easy... The thing that would quiet the noise down the most is them going, well, they don't want that. So that ain't going to happen. The next biggest thing is that you're actually successful. Well, I actually don't think they want that either, because if it costs us 200 million a year extra to be successful, I think they'd rather be mediocre, genuinely.
Yeah.
I really do, right? Okay, so what's the next option beyond that? You could give that fucking new gaffer a bullet.
Yeah, takes all the pressure off and it
changes
just,
the narrative, changes the thing, and boom, everyone's talking about this new guy.
And then it starts again, and then the new guy comes in, and then we're trying to aim for fourth on a shoestring again. It's scary, man. I hate how much I love being a United fan, but it's not looking too positive for the next 9 months.
No, and this week's gonna blow.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got some ropey fucking games coming up. Brentford will not be an easy game.
No.
And I feel I hear myself say that and go knob, right? But it won't be an easy game because we're not firing on all cylinders at the moment. Like we're missing a beat. We fucking need Amrabat to get into that team and really hit 8 and 9s out of 10 off the bat, which that might be unrealistic. Yeah, we're in a fucking shit show at the moment. Maybe having Bayern Munich away in the state that we're in, because we haven't seen Ten Hag go and win a game off the back foot yet. We haven't done that. And away from home, we haven't done that.
No.
I'd love him to go and fucking do that against Bayern.
Fuck, it's the first. Yeah, that'd be the best time to try and break that away voodoo record. But yeah, Howson, thank you very much. What was a shit day? Manchester United getting beat by 3-1 at Old Trafford. What a shambles.